But yeah.
So no, I don't.
So no, you don't. No.
Right. Well, welcome everyone. I'll declare the meeting open at 5 o'clock and a warm welcome to everyone here today. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we live, work and play. We pay our respects to Darkingham country and elders past and present. We recognise the continued connection to these lands and waterways and extend this welcome to the stories of those who also call this place home. We recognise our future leaders and the shared responsibility to care for, protect our place and people. I remind everyone present that your image and what you broadcast live to the public. Please be mindful of your actions and your comments. Should statements that might defame or offend, and note the recording of this meeting will be retained online in the council archive. Turn off your mobile phones. Filming and photography are not permitted in this. And anyone Zooming. We have an apology from the Mayor. So can that be received? Councillor Stanton, Councillor Merland, any objection? I'll put that all those in favour say. Oh, all those in favour? Put your hand. That's unanimous, thank you. And I note that Councillor Crowley may well be attending by video, and I'm told that we don't need a motion in respect to that because she's only an observer.
Plus the code of meeting practice has changed.
Yes, but you still would have, even the old code of meeting practice, if it was somebody else, still would have needed an approval. Okay, we're on to 1.5, disclosures of interest. I'm not going to go around the room. Has anyone got a disclosure to declare?
Yeah.
No. Thank you. Okay, 1.6, the minutes of the previous meeting. Thank you, Councillor Merlin, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Parsons.
I've just got a question, Chair.
Yes, certainly.
Just through you to the Director, I note there was an action to request a presentation at the workshop today about the ash dams, and I actually asked the question, is requesting information be provided. So are we going to get some information about how Lake Mac manages the ash dams in their LGA?
I can get information from them. They seem to know a lot about it. So
Yes.
I can get to following up after finding more about it from them.
Thank you, Chair.
Any further discussion? All those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you. Okay, 1.7, exception. I'll go through the list and anyone just say if you want to talk about it. 2.1.
There's no presentation on 2.1.
We have a little bit of an overview for everyone because it's a complex document.
Right.
So we could,
Fine. 2.2, I've got issues on that. Well, things on that one. 2.3, the LEP amendments, yeah. 2.4, the other LEP. That's both in similar areas. You want that one? Anyone want that one? Yeah. Okay. 2.5, the Heritage Small Grants Program.
Yes.
2.6, dogs in open space. Yeah.
It's just going out on the
It's
exhibition.
exhibition, isn't it?
Yes, yes, correct. 2.7,
Place.
2.8.
Do we need to resolve on that?
Well, goes to the exception, it will be resolved.
Well, I'll start just so that I can vote against it.
Okay.
Thank you.
2.9, the fire safety report.
Yes, I've got questions.
2.10, I just want to suggest changing the order on that. 2.11, I've got questions on that. 2.12, Mr. Castles, you wanted that one?
Yeah, I'll have. Okay.
2.13, any proposals? Probably not.
It's 2.13.
Zoning proposal statistics.
Oh,
And 2.14, development assessment statistics, and 2.15, state significant. Any of those?
215.
Okay. All right, so then go back through them. So that will be 2.6. This is the exception. 2.6 TOGs. 213 planning proposal statistics and 214 development assessment. So somebody want to move those by the exception? Councillor Walsh, second Councillor Merlin. I'll put that. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So that brings us on to, I think, item 2.1. Mr. Director, yes, you've got somebody to come and talk.
I could introduce you to Fiona Pollock, who's Council's Emergency Management Coordinator. She's going to provide you with just an overview because she's quite an important document. It is to go on exhibition, but we just wanted to take you through some of the key points.
Luke? I'll just start with giving you an overview on the purpose of the disaster resilience strategy. So I guess if we can go to the next slide, that'd be helpful. So the purpose is basically just to build resilience across the Central Coast to natural disaster hazards, such as floods, storms, coastal erosion, landslips, tsunamis, bushfires, droughts and heat waves. Well, obviously, with all those hazards, we have some pretty big challenges there. If we look at some of the key challenges, we note that the climate projections for Central Coast, we will face more frequent and intense hazards, including heat waves, bushfires, storms, flooding and coastal erosion. What we're seeing is that there's an overlapping of disasters, which is causing complex issues in our communities and I guess more trauma for those impacted communities. They seem to be some of our ones that are impacted by flooding and storms seem to constantly keep copping it at the moment. So when we look at the, so when we look at the strategy, what we're trying to do is bring a framework together where the work that we're doing and all the different units and directorates all sits together in one place. It is a multi-government strategy. So I'll go you through next slide, please. I'll just go through what we've done up till now. So phase one was our bushfire creative recovery project, which encouraged us to go out into communities, have conversations, and on hearing about their needs and the impact of those disasters, we were successful with some funding for investing in and enabling resilience communities project. So that project took place across the Hawkesbury River, Yarramalong Valley, Northern Tuggerah Lakes and Southern Tuggerah Lakes because it was for flood impacted communities. So we held 22 different workshops and pop-up events to assist communities to identify their own risks and hazards, talk about their own values and what they saw were the actions that they needed in their communities, which then developed their living resilience action plans. Then they workshopped in those plans. They had all these ideas. They were able to prioritise them and then workshop out those ideas. So some of the things that we're able to deliver under that funding was, for example, living in our area guides. We see for some of those communities, they have high Airbnbs and holiday rentals and things and new residents. So those living in our area guides were able to share some of that knowledge for those residents, which helped limit the impact. Traffic calming measures, increased size of flood markers, hall upgrades so that they could become resilience hubs when they lose power or when they're isolated in flooding, solar battery backup power, community events. Some of the underlying things around resilience about community connectedness, knowing your neighbours, things like that. So some communities identify that they needed more support and how to do that. And so we're able to fund some of those events, hall upgrades again, community capacity building projects. So a whole range of things. So that some of those things have already been delivered, but obviously there's a lot more to do and there's also a lot more than just 4 communities. We also recognised that we needed a central space for agencies and organisations who were working with our most vulnerable communities to be able to come together to learn about this emergency management space and how they are integral in that space when we're looking at delivering tailored and specialised support to our most vulnerable communities, so our homeless communities, people with disabilities, our multicultural communities. So that network is made up of all those agencies and gives us a space to be able to talk and share information. We also recognise that there were gaps internally when we were looking for who's doing what over here and what's happening over there. We were able to pull together a disaster resilience working group, which is an internal group of staff that get together to meet and to be able to discuss what opportunities there are, what gaps there are, how we can work better together. So that's what's underlying this strategy. Next slide, please. So what makes a disaster resilience community is really a community that's connected so that we can have a look at infrastructure. They understand their risk and that gives a definition there really, but it is a collective responsibility of all levels of government, private sectors and community. The scope for this strategy is, shows there that was shared across the, as I said, the state and local government agencies, the community and the private sector. And it's to identify new opportunities to build the local capacity to prevent, prepare for, respond to and recover from natural disasters. It is aligned with the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, which has 4 clear priorities that we're working towards to be able to build resilience in the community. But also it is aligned with the National Strategy for Disaster Resilience, National Disaster Risk Reduction Framework, New South Wales Disaster Mitigation Plan and New South Wales Emergency Management Plan, as well as the New South Wales Recovery Plan. So you can see we've tried to cover in one sort of strategy a lot of the different things that exist out there in this world at the moment. It is a changing space and an adapting space, so there's quite a lot of pressure for one document to kind of hold all those priorities. It is a bit, at the moment, many councils are doing resilience strategies. It's a recognised piece of work. So for Central Coast to be able to have a resilience strategy would be fantastic. Next slide, please. So what we've done is these are the different, the 10 priorities, basically, and each priority has a number of actions, and those actions are aligned either to council, our local emergency management committee, New South Wales Reconstruction Authority, New South Wales for transport, and different stakeholders and things. But you can see there that it does cover infrastructure, management, maintenance, community capacity building. So it sort of covers the whole broad spectrum that is required to build resilience in a community. It's important to note that all the stakeholders that are identified in the strategy have agreed to their actions. We've already undertaken all that work and gone out and spoken to it. It is also endorsed by the Local Emergency Management Committee. And also when it comes to driving the priorities and the actions, making sure we're sticking to what we say we're going to do, that is where the Disaster Resilience Working Group will come into play, that internal group. So they will assist in driving those actions. I'll just go to the next slide just to give you a bit of a visual on what some of the actions are. You can see here in action 1, we align the strategy with the community strategic plan and our long-term financial plan and who the leads are and who's responsible and the timeframes as well. Next slide, please. So support from this committee is critical to progressing it to the council. It ensures a strong alignment between resilience objectives and council's statutory planning and land use policies and environmental management frameworks. It embeds the principles of prevention, preparedness, response and recovery, so PPRR, which is that term is used throughout our emergency management practices. And it also will give it credibility and also a coordinated whole of council approach. That's it.
Okay, questions? Yes, Councillor Smith.
Thank you for that. Have had a brief look at the strategy and really like the structure of it. And I think captures some of what I'm going to ask you about. So I'm aware of a couple of communities that are very active around this preparedness, disaster preparedness. So Spencer and Wagstaff is very strong on it. And are there other communities that
Yeah.
we're supported that we're aware of? So you just
So Yarramalong.
Yeah.
Chittaway, Southern Chittaway, with their Chittaway flood response groups that they've developed. And in the northern part of the Tuggerah Lakes, there is still more work to be done. There is work happening, but there's still a lot more capacity to be built there.
Okay, so I guess what I'd like to see, and I'm not going to try and move an amendment at this point, I think it'll come out through the exhibition because this is going on public exhibition, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that, for example, if I was new to the area and I wanted to find what the contacts were, there's no clear way of finding that out. I've just Googled council's website to try and find if I was in Copacabana who would be my contact, and there's nothing that pops up. So I guess just something that I'd sort of put on the table and we'll hope will come through is that we somehow have that directory. You know, is council the lead organisation on sort of this body of work? I suppose it is, isn't it?
Well, for resilience, because it is our local communities, I would say that we would lead it in that way. But then in this sort of strategy, we'll show all the different areas of responsibility in government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and I'm not suggesting it's appropriate for this, but I'm always mindful in Japan how they do their drills, you know, for earthquakes, and they have a regular sort of drill in their community about what to do. Now, not suggesting that we necessarily need to do that, but it's just like they have a very strong sense of what happens and who does it, whereas it's not clear in our community, I think.
Yeah. Well, so I guess it's important to note that the work that we do in community, what underlies it is that it's community centred.
Yeah.
So if the community come up with the idea, then it is we're like the toolbox and we assist them to be able to roll those sorts of actions out.
Yeah.
Which that is in a broader sort of motherhood statement in the resilience plan. Yeah.
No, that's great. Really pleased to see it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? No, you've done great. Thank you. All right, the resolution, the recommendation is there. Somebody want to move that? Councillor Smith, Councillor Stanton. Discussion? Got all that in favour? Unanimously, thank you. Okay, next item is regulatory priorities, statement for public exhibition. You want to say anything about it?
Yeah, if I could ask Shan Mitchell to a little summary of it.
Here again. So last year you heard me talk about 25-26 priority statement. So I'm coming back to you this year with the next 3 years of priorities that we've set out. That presentation up. Part of this presentation, I will take you through a recap of where we've landed with to date, or actually it was till the end of March, with the priority progress from this last financial year. So we'll just jump to the second slide if that's okay. Yep, this one. So as you're aware, we've had a lot of done a lot of work in the illegal camping and homelessness space this last financial year with a lot of media, but also proactive inspection programs really focused over the holiday period. We've had over 150, probably by now more than nearly 300 interactions with individuals out in the community, either camping illegally or experiencing homelessness. And as you're aware, we did a coordinated approach to managing Picnic Point just before Christmas. We've got another coordinated approach with Homes New South Wales and the police at East Park at the moment. So there's been a lot of work in that space, which I think we can be really proud of how far we've come on illegal camping, and we are getting there, but we also have seen a massive increase in what has occurred. So that work, and I'm going to bring you to that in a minute, that will continue to some extent. We're not going to drop it off the list. This last year, we've also issued over 25 fines for illegal tree removal and a number of enforcement actions for illegal land clearing as well. So that can be through notices and orders in that space. We've dealt with over 200 encroachments on public land. So requiring people to remove their encroachment or remove items from public land, whether that be through fines or negotiation for storing that space back. One of the big ones is illegal dumping. We've issued over $200,000 worth of fines for illegal dumping. So this is a big deterrent, which we do see a lot of dumping occurring on the coast. We've got a lot of spaces that are vacant and out of sight and out of mind to people, and that is taken advantage of. So we do proactive surveillance in those areas and have come up with, I guess, a lot of enforcement action in that space, which we're proud of. Food safety as well. So we've done a lot of, I guess, increased notices and orders in relation to that, and we've issued a number of fines. I think I only had one fine listed on there, but I know there's been a number of fines issued since the date I completed the report. And also we had one prohibition order, which actually closes down a food shop that's not operating to standards and has been a repeat offender. So good progress on that space. If I can jump to the next slide. So for this year's priority statement, I'm setting out the priorities for the next 3 years. This allows us to be more strategic and align with our strategic plan for the future and understand where we're heading. And it also sets out those clear priorities for the next 3 years of what we're going to focus our resourcing on. I've also introduced a new enduring priority, and that's the illegal camping. So like I said, we're not going to drop that off the list. Looking at how we can resource that within the Rangers team to have someone who is focused on being productive in that space every day. So illegal camping will be an enduring priority. Next slide. As part of those enduring priorities, we will retain parking accessibility and compliance. These are the key safety issues that were in last year's enduring priorities, so they will be retained. Community safety, so dogs out in the community, dog attacks, compliance with orders for dogs off leash and all of those sorts of things. That's all maintained. They're a real key safety activity that we deal with. I mentioned we've included illegal camping. And then obviously we've got the enduring priority of protection of human health and the environment. So where there is pollution events, we can dedicate resources to respond to those, and that will be retained as an enduring. Next slide, please. So I just thought it was important to add some information on the workload that our rangers do undertake day to day. And this is a reactive space. This doesn't include their proactive patrols. It's really hard to measure that in numbers and give you a stat. So this is the reactive work that we receive in so the blue indicates that parking and vehicle related matters, and we get over 6,700 requests per year. Green is the companion animals, so dog complaints. Red is unauthorised activities on public land. So this includes your homelessness and illegal camping complaints. And we've seen a massive increase in that space over the last 12 to 18 months. Orange is waste and illegal dumping complaints, and they account for 4.9% of the work that the Rangers do. So we get in that team over 12,000 customer complaints for reactive work. Now, that doesn't mean just like a pothole where we go out and fill the pothole and close it off. A lot of that is to and fro, back and forth with the customer and dealing with a response. So it is time consuming in that space. So for illegal camping and homelessness, we've seen the most significant growth, increasing by 34% from the previous years. And as you would know, when you drive around the coast, you see more and more, it's more visible now. So that is why we've now included that as an enduring priority. Next slide, please. The 26-27 yearly priorities will include unhealthy land and abandoned dwellings. Now, we get a lot of complaints about, and people call it unsightly. We can't take action for unsightly land where we have things that are causing unhealthy. So harbourage of vermin, asbestos, dilapidated buildings, people entering unauthorised and squatting in dwellings. So looking at areas where we can target like the example on the screen, it's a whole block of dwellings that are now being left and not maintained. So taking action on those and making sure they're kept up to standard and not creating an unhealthy space. Dealing with dogs in prohibited areas. So where dogs are particularly in beaches and off leash, or even just bringing the dogs on the beach where they're not prohibited. So doing a more focused and targeted approach on those. We've got a strategy, and as you know, we've got a trial on the use of camera equipment in vehicles for Gosford CBD. So we'll be continuing that throughout the year, and that trial will, I guess, come back to council for support as to whether or not it's continued, but we will continue a proactive space in Gosford CBD parking. Unauthorised works on private property. Now, we do get a lot of complaints in that space. We'll be looking at taking a focus on action where there's a risk to public safety or person safety for unauthorised work. So we'll be taking more proactive approaches in that area. So it won't be minor little things like a little retaining wall or things that don't create a hazard. We'll be looking at where there's a hazard or a risk. We do get a lot of complaints about outdoor dining compliance, and this, I guess, presents a safety risk to the public. It's a great initiative to have outdoor dining, and we do really encourage it. But where the dining blocks the footpath, so you can't access it with a wheelchair or a pram, we will be looking at taking action in those services. And you do see that a lot where they encroach into the footpath space. So that's the 26-27 yearly priorities. I'll quickly go through the next 2 years if we can. 27-28. So smoke and air pollution, we get a lot of complaints in relation, particularly in winter, to the use of wood fire heaters, backyard burning, and open pole burning. And I know that's on the agenda for later. So more proactive work in that space for 27-28. School zone parking compliance and a proactive education where our rangers or parking rangers will be out on foot in school zones at key times and enforcing the legislation for safe parking in school zones, but also providing that education to the schools and the parents. Unauthorised coastal works. I guess this is a space where we do see a lot of work occurring which might require development consent. So looking at what action can be taken. Now we've got the CMP in motion to be adopted. This will fall in really well with supporting the CMP. In the food and public health premises, looking at doing repeat inspections for those high-risk premises. So currently they get 1 inspection a year, but how can we increase that and make sure they're compliant? It might be 2 inspections a year and or taking enforcement action where it's required. And number 5 is abandoned vehicles, and we do get a lot of complaints about abandoned vehicles and taking that more proactive, and it might be a proactive surveillance through different suburbs regularly so we can monitor that and take action in that space. 28-29. So I've put illegal camping back on the program for 28 and 29 because I think it's really important that we do focus those holiday periods. And whilst we'll be continuing with our ongoing as an enduring priority, we can do more proactive work in holiday periods on illegal camping and get those, I guess, get the impact of those people that are actually turning up, taking advantage of our public car parks and spaces near the beach and camping for the weekend instead of booking a caravan park. Number 2 is development consent and complying development certificate compliance. So that will be looking at where we've got DAs approved, making sure that those DAs, and we'll be doing audits of those DAs. Whilst we do that now, we don't have the resources to do that continuously and constantly. We'll be picking a sample and being able to run with that throughout the year. Illegal dumping is back on the agenda for 28-29 because once again it is an important space. It will continue, but we'll take that more proactive range in surveillance of those key locations for illegal dumping. Food truck and food stall compliance. So we do inspections of food trucks and food stalls at events and also where they trade on public land. So we'll be looking at doing, I guess, a higher level of proactive work in that space for food truck and stall compliance. And number 5 is erosion and sediment control. And this ties in really well with the development consent compliance one, because it is usually a development consent condition, but looking at how we can target particularly those subdivisions where they've moved on from the initial clearing, and the individual lots are being developed. And we do see a lot of run up off, particularly during rainfall events. So making sure those builders are kept on their toes and maintaining those erosion and sediment controls. I think that's it. Next slide. Okay, so we are trying to promote responsible enforcement of legislation by council and setting out our priorities. We really targeted over the next 3 years a number of the key issues that we see every day that are responsible for a lot of our customer complaints and inquiries, and also a lot of the things that councillors and MPs send through to us for, I guess, review. Any questions?
Very comprehensive.
I've got.
Yes, Councillor Smith.
So look, I actually find this quite problematic that we're broadcasting what are priorities and the implication being that other things aren't priorities. So I'm hoping that's not the intent.
It's not the case that they're not priorities. I guess what we're doing is we're focusing our limited resources on some key areas where we can do proactive work. Okay. So our reactive space where we get complaints, we are still continuing the status quo in that area, but we can do some targeted proactive work in these areas.
Okay, so I would like to see one of the enduring priorities to be the illegal land clearing and tree removal. I think the community through the CSP has really highlighted that the environment is a priority, and maybe it's just my background. I get lots of phone calls and lots of contact about trees and illegal land clearing. So it would seem to me that it is an ongoing problem that is not easing, and to not identify it as an enduring priority is problematic. So that's the first point, and I know you'll respond to that in a minute. And the other thing, Shan, as you know, at the Mangrove Mountain Committee, there was a bit of discussion about the on-site sewer systems and water, and we sort of just had a couple of brief sentences about could that be a regulatory priority and at which point. Can you sort of
so
on that?
So it does fall, and probably the answer to both of those questions, if we can just, we've lost the slides, but in our enduring priorities, we've got the protection of human health and environment. So I can tidy that up to include more specifically those two issues, the tree clearing or land clearing, tree removal and on-site sewage management. From that space in relation to illegal land clearing, it does also fall under development consent conditions and also development without consent. So it does fall into other categories as well. So it's not totally left off.
It's not just your staff.
In relation to the on-site sewage management, that falls under the Local Government Act regulation as an enduring priority anyway. Right. So we can be more specific in that one enduring priority to include it.
And but could we identify it at a particular point in time for an audit? I think now I don't know the number of licenses. I assume they're licensed, but
I think 9,000.
Is that in the drinking water catchment?
No, that's in the whole.
I just could focus on the drinking. And it doesn't have to be this year.
We already do that. In our work with our water and sewer directorate for the water catchment, we do targeted on-site sewage management inspections in the drinking water catchment. So we did one out at Marty recently around the edge of the Marty Dam. We've been doing some work up in Colnea and Mangrove Mountain as well. In that.
Okay, so notwithstanding what you've just said, and I accept what you're saying, could we somehow capture those two things in the recommendation? I did send through some wording, but I'd rather you sort of tell me what you're comfortable with, and then I can test it.
Yeah, I mean, probably councillors, it's probably up to your debate about the issues of adding things to the resolution. It's probably not for Shan to tell you whether she likes it or not. So
no, but it would be
I guess just the
wording
I can give is that both of those things are included in either enduring priorities or development consent priorities, but they're not specific. So that wording could be amended to address that if that's.
Put my wording underneath the resolution that's on, or the recommendation that's on the screen, and I can see if I can just incorporate it, please.
I guess water licenses isn't the correct word for that.
Okay, what is the?
I have some more questions or comments.
On-site sewage management systems.
Okay, and I'm happy for it to be focused within the drinking water catchment, which seemed to be the concern in particular. And underneath recommends that council, could we put another part A that says amends is that number one, amends the regulatory priority statement to include illegal clearing and illegal land clearing and tree clearing as an enduring priority and compliance with, sorry, what was your
On-site sewage management.
on-site sewage management in the drinking water catchment priority. And the rest of it can fall away.
Is there a seconder? By councillor Walsh. Councillor Stanton, you had a questions?
Yeah, but are we now amendment?
Well, I've got no, that's the motion. I've got an amendment.
Sorry, there are some that's going to be deleted. It's really just adding that amending to include those two.
That's okay. We'll go to questions and then I'll put my amendment.
Sure, I mean, it's not related to this.
No.
My queries.
That's okay. It's fine. We're still debating the whole issue.
Perfect. I guess just comments, but also a question, which is just, I suppose I appreciate the body of work that's been done here. I'm just a bit concerned with maybe some of the figures that have been used in the initial slides that you presented in terms of the number of queries, inquiries, complaints and actions by council. In the way that I think potentially they've been bolstered by somebody raising a concern and council maybe utilising this as a way to show numbers of things that we're doing. An example of this is multiple calls being made to the council in regards to ranges being required for vehicles and council explicitly stating that's not our problem, call the police. So that kind of call would be lodged as one of these inquiries, which goes towards council saying, oh, we're working in this space, but actually the council is turning residents away and putting them towards other community resources. So I'm pleased to see that council is saying that they will be proactive. My question is, what does proactive mean? That's different to sending people away. But I do have concerns in terms of the numbers, because I think just because somebody calls up, if council's not actually acting upon that and helping the resident, and as you said one time, kind of going back and forth on an issue, it shouldn't be used for. Yeah, look, I guess there may be instances of that when we do get customer inquiries where it might be an issue that isn't relevant to council. But there is a number of things, particularly in relation to abandoned vehicles, that we can do about it, and we do action. There are circumstances where we can't take action. So there is work still that goes on, and it may be a site inspection, discussion with the customer, and it may be that there is a point where it's determined that we can't take action if we don't have the powers. The numbers, I guess, was just to give you a representative example of the work that the rangers do. A lot of these priorities do across other teams as well. I haven't given you the numbers in relation to that. This was more related to the increase in homelessness complaints, not so much the reason and justification for some of those other enduring priorities. I should have made that clear at the start. But yeah, look, I do know that there are instances where we can't take action, and we do let the resident know that that's the case. And if we could amend the legislation that would help us in that space, we would, but it's state government legislation. So we do what we can within what we have.
So just on,
Maybe we need some kind of published idea of what the council can and can't do in those instances, because I think the reasonable response of the resident when they see a car that's parked illegally, or they have a motorcycle driving down a shared pathway where dogs and prams are, would be to call the council, because it's a council asset. And if the immediate response, there's no investigation, the immediate response by the responding person is go somewhere else. Yeah, so I guess there is limits, and the example of the motorbike in a public space or on a, our rangers don't have the powers that the police have. So unfortunately, that is a police matter, particularly riding a motorbike in those areas where they should be either registered for the road or in a private property. So we don't have the powers of arrest or anything like that and take action, and they can just speed off or get away. So that is really challenging, those ones. In relation to abandoned vehicles, there are instances, and what often happens is that we'll do an inspection, notice the vehicle, sticker it, try and make contact if it's a registered vehicle with the registered owner. Often those vehicles are parked within the immediate vicinity of a property owner. If that's the case and the vehicle is causing an obstruction, they get requested to relocate the vehicle onto their private property or move it into a more suitable location. The problems we do have is where the vehicle's not creating a safety issue. It's legally parked and it is, I guess, being observed or attended to. So that's the challenge that we do see, and that's where we tend to go back to customers and say, look, we've identified the owner, we've had contact with them, they live up the road or around the corner. Whilst it's been there for some time, they are monitoring it and it's being attended to. So that's where we get constrained in whether or not we can take action for vehicles. But it's certainly some feedback that we could put back on our website so that the information's there for the.
I think like a fact sheet, similar, just to residents can go on and see what can council do in this respect, what can't they do, and where is the appropriate help that they can receive. It's just we're passing people along.
And that's a continuous improvement thing that we are doing. And I know that there is some work going on with improving our website, so we can bring that information to the front.
Councillor Castles, did you have a question?
I did, but it's now been answered, so it's
Okay, so I'll try my luck with an amendment. Sure, if it's quite ready yet. I apologise, it was a bit convoluted the way I sent it through to the city. So it's just.
Sorry, excuse me, sorry, Mr Chair.
Yeah.
I thought we'd already had some amendment.
No, that's a motion.
It's a motion.
Right, apologies. Okay, thanks.
So I'll just outline what it is. It's adding a couple of words to the regulatory priority statement. In 4.4 about illegal camping, what I'm proposing is it says illegal camping may be associated with homelessness and prioritises removing illegal campers from higher recreational value parks and reserves such as beaches and waterfront areas. So I think that just makes it clearer that they're the areas where we've got a problem with illegal camping. And I think Sean actually picked up this point that in 5.4, which is about basically unauthorised work, just to reiterate that we're not going to have a go at something that is minor and not something that has been there forever. And my experience with this is that often you get complaints from as a part of a neighbourhood dispute, and the shed's been there for 20 years and might be over the boundary or might not have ever had a VA for it, but it's been there forever. And I mean, the advice from both the director and Sean is that we don't take action on that, so that's just making it clear in that respect.
We have our enforcement policy which guides the level of action that we take in certain circumstances. So that's used in all activities, and it sets out that level, and I think I presented it to you this time last year as well, that it sets out how we manage and escalate different levels of non-compliance.
Okay, so they're the changes to the statement, and the rest of it is obviously, as you can see, I'm proposing that we properly investigate a short-term camping ground at Koala Park, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but it is only in principle with a report to come back to the council at this stage, and that we get quarterly reports on this stuff. I've just discussed that with the director, who doesn't have a problem with that. So just speaking about Koala Park, it's up at Kalonga between San Remo and Buff Point. It is a bit away from residential area. It actually has, or had in the past, a caravan park when it was owned by Delta in the southeastern corner, and the remnants of that are still in fact there. If anyone goes and has a look, obviously it's got toilets there. It doesn't get a great deal of use for anything else, and on a short-term basis, I think it's something that is well worth looking at. My understanding from the staff is that we're unable to move people on unless there's somewhere to move them to, So even when there are places like Beast Park or Picnic Point, unless there is somewhere that we can move them to, we can't move them on. So this is an attempt to try and find a location that, at least in the short term, they could be moved to and kept out of those key recreational areas. So if there's a seconder, that'll become an amendment. If there isn't, then it won't.
Just a report.
Yes.
Can I ask if you'd consider, oh, it's gone, removing,
There it says.
oh, okay. But there was a line about the 5.4, which was the new and the minor. Would you consider removing that?
Councillor Stan, if that's what you'd like, I'll be happy to do it. Yeah, I don't think it makes much difference. We're just trying to make it clearer that we don't do that, but we don't do it anyhow.
Prefer to
Okay.
leave that.
Yeah, can I just, I mean, I just think part B is a separate motion, really. It would seem to need some kind of further report to try and incorporate that.
It does ask for a further report.
Yeah, but it's not part of the regulatory framework to establish a camping ground in a different location. I mean, that's a separate initiative.
You're entitled to your view, Councillor Smith. I think because the report is about illegal camping and regulatory, I think it attaches to it.
Just on the same one point B, I know this is going back a few months ago now, probably could be even up to 12 months ago, but I certainly had a request for information in the council request for information portal on this very issue, because it had been raised with me by a couple of community members, really concerned and caring community members. I'm not talking about people who just hate anybody who happens to be homeless or whatever, but that basically it asked, well, is that a possibility? Anyway, and Councillor, you may have already received different information at this stage, but I was certainly advised by the director at that time that there were many reasons, which I cannot remember them all now off the top of my head, and presumably if this gets up, these will be given to us in a report, that made it not a suitable place to actually implement such a I guess a project, if you like, even though it may come from a good sort of place, that it actually was really not a suitable environment for that to happen. So I would certainly just raise that as being something that was definitely looked at a little while ago. Things may have changed a bit. I know we may be in a slightly different situation now with more people, a lot of it due to, you know, all of our issues where we've got more and more homeless people across Australia. It's not just here, as we know. So, you know, maybe we'll find out something different, or perhaps we will get reinforced the same issue. But just so you know that it has been looked at before.
Still saying, isn't Koala Park used for events? I mean, I'm there to music events and youth events. So really,
And I don't know, and I don't know whether any
Not much.
for you,
Yeah, that can come back out of the report.
through you, Chair, to perhaps the director, is that when I was driving along there the other day, because I quite sort of go up that way, family members live up that way, there were all these signs sort of more or less where they used to have caravans and such like down sort of, I think it's where you're talking about, and they're all saying danger asbestos, you know, keep out. So there may be some actual environmental issues there around there as well, from past use that are creating a bit of a, I guess, a bit. A dangerous potential health issue. So, do you know anything about that, Director, at all, or?
No, councillor. I mean, we haven't done a lot of investigation into it. Our view was that Koala Park was private ownership.
Yeah.
But we're going to double check that. So that may not be correct, but we'll investigate that. But if council resolve to do a report, we can do a little bit more work on it, come back with some more information.
Okay, thank you.
I can assure councillors that I in fact visited the site, and there was actually some council staff doing some work there at the time, and there was no signs about us. And the area I'm talking about, which is the old caravan park, is not associated with any of the other areas. So it's quite a discrete little
I
area.
know I know exactly where you mean, yeah, but anyway, it might be worth checking, that's all.
Sure.
So you consider the amendment, your Koala Park or other locations?
Yeah, sure.
Because the staff may.
Find someone
No,
more
I agree.
appropriate.
I mean, I guess I would say that should be in the report, but yes, I'm happy to include that because I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care whether it's a koala park or not. I'm just trying to find somewhere that we can have as, you know, a short-term place. I don't care where it is. I care about trying to have it happen, councillor Ross. I don't.
Chair, would you incorporate my other amendments?
No, councillor Smith. All right, is there any further debate? Not, all right, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Milne, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Eaton, against, Councillor Smith, Councillor Welsh. I'll declare the amendment carried. It now becomes the motion. Sorry, Kat, almost cast the vote. It now becomes the motion. All those in favour of the motion? Councillor Milne, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Eaton, against, Councillor Smith, Councillor Welsh. I declare that carried on my casting vote. Thank you. Okay, next one is the rezoning of 129 Ridgeway and 231 McDonald's Road. I'm not sure if we got anyone to talk on this.
Yeah, well, just a really very brief, but if Shannon,
I can make what I think is right and happy to be corrected. This is the one that is more of a rural residential one, yes. The other one is more of a standard residential, is that right?
Yeah.
I think that makes it clearer which one's which because the addresses are quite similar.
Yeah, so council's had a planning proposal submitted for a rural residential subdivision. The land is currently owned C3 environmental management and C2 environmental conservation, and the proposal is looking to increase the amount of C2 environmental conservation land and rezone some of the C3 environmental management to C4 environmental living, which will allow for 1 hectare lots and the site to be subdivided. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of work being done by the staff to try and have the C4 land in areas that are definitely less restricted by the vegetation and some of the site. The footprint of the site will go through the biodiversity certification process, and as that process is run by the government, the actual footprint of the site will change slightly going through that process. So it might be that there is more environmental land or more for land through that process, but generally there will be very much more suitable for protection through that process. Yeah, so the resolution is to seek a resolution to apply for a gateway determination through the Department of Planning.
Questions? Thoughts?
Just wondering how council sees this as improving housing affordability. A few questions actually.
Yeah, it's rural res is generally not affordable, but this location due to the constraints of the land are not suitable for standard residential development. So why it is providing more residential land, having lots down a small 450 square metres is probably not the right place here.
How does these lots fit into an affordable housing?
They're just providing housing neutral coast.
Okay, thanks, Shan. And why this development is seen as appropriate in what is otherwise environmentally significant land?
Through the assessment process, we have definitely limited on site where residential development, or in this case environmental living, could go. So the sites will only be down to 1 hectare in size, and having a look at that, we've actually increased the environmental protection across the site by about 40%. So the C2 zone has been much larger than currently now. So to try and definitely limit the impact on areas on the site that need to be preserved.
they're getting a higher order zone for a lot of it. So they'll go from 3 up to C2, which is a higher order environment.
Okay, so does this situation establish precedent for future scenarios similar,
They're all definitely looked at on a case by case basis. And council really supports the process of getting the sites fire certified. So it's very clear where there is environmental, where land is available for development. And I don't think it does set a precedent, although there is 2 here, but it is quite close to an established centre. Yeah, the site has gone through a rigorous process to make sure that the land that is proposed to be zoned C4 is
Okay.
for rural residential development.
just one more. I was only going to ask 3, but who'll be responsible for who will be responsible for the long-term ecological management?
It's proposed to be a community title subdivision, so it will be community title that we'll look at. So it's not proposed to come to council. So there'll be a levy proposed through the community title process, and then there'll be like a protection plan over the land. Those actions will need to be undertaken by the title organisation.
I've got some others, but I'll pop them in question online.
Smith?
Who's the applicant?
Not sure what the relevance is, Councillor Smith.
Just in case I've got a conflict of interest, I want to make sure I don't.
I can find out. Delete that one with me.
Shouldn't you have inquired about that during the conflict of interest item? Because
Sorry?
shouldn't you have inquired about that during
I
conflict?
should, but then I'd have to inquire about all of them. So if you can let me know.
Likely to be a planning consultant anyhow.
So this is essentially a spot rezoning, correct? On an LEP that we adopted
Answer because
2-3 years ago. And staff are supportive of that. What's the process? Because I noticed the local planning panel is mentioned. So has this been to local planning panel? So why does it come to us then?
The local planning panel for planning proposed just an advisory panel.
So who's the determining authority on this one? Right, okay.
Yeah, but there is a planning, a ministerial direction that requires all planning proposals go to the planning panel before they go to
So
council.
does it go out on expedition or is this the final stage?
No, it's just seeking for a gateway determination.
So I looked at the bushfire mapping. It's got a lot of, is it level 1 bushfire mapping? Is it? It's all over the site.
Some of it would be, yeah, definitely
So is that the highest level bushfire hazard or is that the lowest?
Yeah. The answer to that category 1 bushfire.
Category 1, is that high? The highest. So is that I didn't come across it in the text anywhere. So is it mentioned in the body of the work?
It would have been assessed. Yeah, and it would have been that only the proposed C4 land.
But certainly the 129 Ridgeway was just mostly category 1 bushfire mapped. And are we proposing on subdividing that for dwellings?
It's been assessed. The strategic bushfire study's been prepared in accordance with the bushfire protection plan, and council's bushfire report is satisfactory, subject to maintenance of the fire trails to be addressed as the planning proposal progresses. So yeah, our staff have that and looked at the measures.
Okay, so is there an assessment report with that?
It would be included in the planning proposal.
Can you send that to me or should I put that through a councillor? Oh, no, it's online, isn't it? But it would save me a lot of time.
Attached to the planning proposal.
Okay. I think it's really pretty appalling, but anyway, I'll just vote against it.
Yes, Councillor Castles.
Yeah, so also, very concerned really that it's a spot rezoning. And I guess when I was looking at it and reading through all the documents, and maybe through you, Chair, and perhaps to the director and maybe to gosh, mental block all of a sudden, Shannon. I noted from reading it through that it said it basically that this planning proposal isn't the result of a strategic study or a report. So I mean, it's basically is just a hello, let's do this kind of thing. This is concerning to say the least. And I'm wondering why we are going down this path. What's the reason for this? It seems to me it's completely against how we have been, I guess, acting previously. Spot rezonings, as we all know, is not a great idea, frankly. I won't bother going into the details. Need more information as to why this has come before us when it's not the result of a strategic study or a report?
It's really unlikely that most rezonings are part of a strategic study or report. They definitely would be potentially if it's something that's councillor led, but where they're applicant led and they've come to council with their proposal and lodged their planning proposal and paid their fees,
Right.
we're required to assess them within the timeframes. So council's done an assessment based on the information that has come in and deemed that it's suitable to proceed, but I guess council's the authority on that. So
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Recommendation? I'll move the recommendation. There's a second. Recommendation? Seconded. Thank you, councillor. Is there any more debate? No? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Councillor Millen, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Eaton. Against? Councillor Smith, Councillor Castles, Councillor Walsh. I'll declare that carried on my casting vote. So stay there, I think, Shannon. 2.4. Questions on this one?
The applicants. Who's the applicant?
would be planning consultant. I'll have to get back to you on that.
This one, the report seemed to be missing information. It seemed to have read all through it saying to be included or to be found somewhere else, or I mean, some of it was minor, but it just seemed to be a rushed job, a rush report to this committee. I don't know if there was any haste. So another spot rezoning. Do we have a strategic planning section? We do?
Shannon's the boss.
Yeah. We're going with another rezoning.
Councillor Castles?
Yeah, from reading through the more, I think it must be the attachment 1. It talks about the fact that there are 6 threatened fauna species within the site, but gives no indication of what that fauna is, which I found that's not unusual, but I would have thought that we should possibly know what the species are. We're able to name the species of tree, but apparently we're not able to name the 6 threatened fauna species within the site. Through you, Mr. Chair, and to the director, and perhaps through to Shannon. Any thoughts about what are we looking at here? Tigers, Tasmanian tigers, kangaroos. What's there? What's there? Swift parrots, Exactly. It just seemed odd that they were not mentioned by name.
Yeah, sorry, I need to take that one.
Ecological report somewhere.
Yeah, that would be great too.
The council's environmental planner, those species are the grey-headed flying fox that was observed.
What did we find?
The grey-headed flying fox that was observed flying over the site, the sooty owl individual was observed in the C2 area, and 3 species of microbats that were just detected using a recorder.
Okay, right. You- Is there a possibility the report could be amended to include those?
The planning proposal or
The fact that the fauna was not named,
yeah, if it's not included in the planning proposal.
I couldn't see it. So, thank you.
Any further discussion?
John.
Oh, sorry, this is the one, I think that said the road can cope with the traffic, but it's already a choke point. So what's the thinking there? I mean, you've got really poor line of sight going around the bend. It's already near a school, isn't it? It's just down the road from the school.
Yeah, based on the information, our transport technical specialists at council have reviewed it and are happy with what is proposed. Anything further at this stage?
People very happy.
Councillor Walsh?
Thanks, through you, Mr Chair. Shannon, so why is council seriously considering this before the BCAR or the biodiversity certification is far from completed?
Yeah, unfortunately, the state has two processes. One's a biocertification process and one's the local environment plan amendment process. They don't align. So council tries to, if you go straight off the Department of Environment's process, they actually don't like to look at the BCAR till council has resolved to get a gateway determination. We do engage them much earlier in the process, and they have been quite good at, I guess, providing us with some of their time. But if they went strictly off their own process, they don't want to look at it to further in the process. And the issue is that the biocertification generally takes longer than the allotted time between getting a gateway determination and finalising the proposal, the planning proposal. It's really not ideal, but those two processes are not owned by council. So
What are the ultimate consequences of that, though?
That often the planning proposal is slowed down because we can't get enough early engagement through the state government early in the process. Our understanding is that they're looking at it, at aligning the processes better. So we spend a lot of time really early in the process and trying to get BCAR's early drafts reviewed by the government, because essentially that biocertification process sets out the development footprint. So
there's been no early BCAR draft reviewed here?
No, they have been reviewed, gets reviewed by council staff and gets reviewed, but their formal process, I guess, they don't like to start that till after a gateway determination is issued, which we find is too late in the process, but that is their process, unfortunately.
Okay.
But then that would still be, the ecological issues would still then have to be revisited at the subdivision stage, wouldn't they?
The biocertification process, if it's supported, the BCAR goes out on exhibition, I mean, with our stuff, but with theirs as well. And then, yeah, it just depends. Sometimes we can get the timing to line up so the proposals are actually not finalised before the certification is done. But it doesn't always. But then I guess that's their solution option. They can either wait for the certification process to be finished before they lodge a subdivision DA, or they can choose not to do that and run into all sorts of trouble.
So through you, Mr Chair, in this particular spot rezoning, who will own and manage the conservation land permanently?
There'll be conservation agreements over it. So where there's infrastructure proposed in it, those will come to council. And where these and some will stay in private ownership with a conservation agreement and a management plan over it. Landowners will be required to undertake the management responsibilities.
Okay, so sort of back to something Councillor Smith was sort of referring to on the other, is that so can the development still proceed at the proposed yield if environmental and bushfire requirements are fully applied?
Yep, as assessed by our staff, it's determined that the footprint, is suitable for development.
Right, so I didn't find that clear in the report. So,
So just on that, sorry, just because it's relevant. So one of those red text was the strategic bushfire study, and it's got note update pre-gateway. So whose job is that to do that?
Well, so there is a part in the proposal, in the report that talks about some additional requirements where we've looked at this proposal and said that it is suitable to proceed to the next step. We've also asked in the resolution that there is additional information given to council that we'd like to send in as part of the gateway determination.
If you haven't seen that information, how
We
can
have
you
seen it? We just want their mapping to be updated, basically, to be consistent. Why we've looked at this information and done, it's just that we actually would like them to update everything that's required that we just sent. We have looked at this information before, and as we've said, one of the requirements is that their draft biodiversity certification assessment report is sent.
and the DCP and the servicing strategy report, none of these are available?
Yeah, a lot of that information is contained in the plan. Attached.
So then why is the text there saying that it needs to be updated?
It's in the council, well, the proposed resolution. Point, what is that, 2A to H? Yeah. The resolution is all those things that we would like them to make sure their mapping and everything is up to date before we send it away for gateway. But we are saying that we've done an assessment and that, you know, it does have merit and we don't have issues pending that information is updated, so we can send the final package off to the department.
It just feels very back to front.
All right, some of that. Recommendations there. Again, I'll move the recommendation, get things underway. Second, I think just before I put it is it's important that this is 60 or so residential lots, you know, and we've got a housing shortage, and most of them are standard residential lots in an area, Row, very close to an existing centre. So to me, it's actually a pretty logical proposal.
The housing shortage when we did all the work for the LEP adopted.
Okay, so I'll put it.
Public toilet strategy, that was adopted too.
I'll put it. All those in favour? Councillor Merlin, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Eaton. Against? Councillor Smith, Councillor Walsh, Councillor Castles. Carried on the casting votes. Okay, we're on to 2.5, Heritage for Grants Program. Who wanted this? I mean, thanks.
I've got a motion.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yep, so get that up on the screen. And I guess just make a point of saying I don't own a heritage property. I know if Councillor Neal was here, she'd declare, even though she's not a voting member of the committee. So no conflict of interest there. So I think mine is just adds the part 3 that supports the reinstatement of the Heritage Small Grants Program, allocates the 200,000 in the next budget, and notes the management and administration.
The nader. I have to.
Well, we haven't adopted the budget yet, so it can be resolved.
It's on exhibition.
Yeah, and so it will come back to council. It can be amended, and we're getting rid of those signs now, so there's plenty.
Yeah.
Didn't you know about that?
Yeah, I did. There was never a budget for the signs. A lot of misinformation out there, so.
So allocate in principle, allocates 200,000 funding.
No.
Then we can.
I'm ruling it out.
Well, you can't rule it out.
Yes,
It's
I
a
can.
motion. It's a legal motion.
No, it's not.
On what basis?
It would need a rescission. It is in direct
We haven't
contradiction of.
adopted it. Haven't
There's
adopted
still a resolution putting it out on exhibition.
We haven't adopted the operation plan.
All resolution putting it out on exhibition, which would be contrary to that. That's my ruling, Councillor.
Invalid. Move to send in the chair's ruling.
Thank you. Okay, what's your dissent?
That it's a valid motion to go before the committee.
Thank you. All right, I'll put the motion to consent, moved by councillor Smith. All those in favour? Smith, councillor against. Councillor Mellon, councillor Stanton, councillor declare the motion to consent lost. So the motion is ruled out. And I'll put the
Question.
Yeah, sure. We'll get started. I'll move the recommendation. Is there a second for the recommendation? Councillor Mellon, thank you. Yes, councillor Stanton.
I just have a few questions about the report as well as the recommendation. So states that this would be on a dollar for dollar basis, and that grants would be available up to $10,000. But then it also has in the recommendation about 200,000 for this particular one project. So I'm wondering how we get from $10,000 to 200, especially when the read statement says that the entire grants would be 200. That would be the full allocation for to the one project. I'm not saying that it's not without merit for that, but how does that coincide with this program? Was that not a funding that should be allocated outside of this potential for extended grants program?
So the maximum amount that we would give up to, I guess, out of that 200,000 per year. So one for the EIO process, we get grants. We would assessed. That's what they come in, and the whole program each year would be issued essentially up to $200,000. And then as we went through the grants, it might be that some years we might only get $60,000 worth of grants. Come in other years we might get 200,000. So it's just an upper limit. But when we went through that process, it just depended on how many people we got put in grants.
Page 339 of the current agenda says it is proposed that grants would be allocated on a dollar for dollar basis for up to a maximum of 10,000. This means that the maximum funding is granted. Council contributes $10,000 and the applicant contributes at least 10,000.
Yeah.
So how do we get?
We might have 30 people put in for grant. But we were just saying that to make sure we could help as many people as possible, the maximum council would give out in a grant is 10,000.
For one, but 200 is the program, so it may not reach 200 for 1 year, but for one project it would be 10,000 is the maximum. So how do we get to 200 for just this roof?
You're talking about Henry Kendall.
Oh, Henry Kendall.
Yes.
Sorry, no,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
They're separate there.
Yeah. I don't think we're suggesting the grant be used.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I understand that Henry Kendall needs a roof.
And that's okay.
How
Sorry.
important it is. Sorry, I didn't put it. Sorry, and how important it is.
Okay. Sorry. I was understanding that it was saying that it says like supports in principle the reinstatement of the Heritage Small Grants Program, noting this would be 200,000, and then it also talks about the roof being 200,000.
Yes, sorry, yeah,
Okay, they were just the same numbers.
Yeah, so I guess the information on Henry Kendall was included in there too because they are looking for funding as part of those.
If this grant scheme was put up and they applied, they would receive a maximum of 10,000 under that. So if they needed more, it would have to go external to that particular grant program.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I thought the report said that they need to find some external funding.
Yeah, and they are doing their some external fundraising as well.
Yeah.
There's more to talk about the importance of that project. And that is council used to look at that one separately. But
Okay, sorry, I thought that was the same.
no, thank you.
Yep, just same on the regarding the Henry Kendall Museum and Cottage, just because it says obviously urgent. So is this? I'm sorry if I missed it. I apologise for that or forgotten it. So it says urgent. So if we are waiting until the next financial year before we can it's just say this is successful when it goes to council, etc., etc. If we're waiting for the next financial year for this to, in a sense, unlock this money, will so much damage had been done to the Henry Kendall cottage, considering it says urgent, between now and whenever, let's just say, being optimistic, the first round of funding would actually go out, because that's my concern here. I mean, I totally am in support of the Henry Kendall getting, being supported. It's more about, are we leaving it too late is my concern.
So can I ask the follow-up question? I mean, I didn't think I didn't read it as the grants program was going to be used for Henry Kendall Cottage because of that issue. So is there another bucket of money or other funds available through Capital Works or through anything that could be utilised for that purpose?
There's no other money.
What about our maintenance of community facilities? Where does that money come from? Because this is essentially a community facility that's being used by community. So how is that allocation given that it can't be including or can't be utilised for this purpose?
Surely it's something urgent. It's urgent. It's urgent.
No, it's not a council.
Oh, council facility.
Council building?
No.
No, who owns it?
Historical Society.
Do they own it?
Brisbane Water Historical Society owns it.
All right. Sorry, then just the other point with your motion, Chair, is can we put a time frame on the future budget? If you're not accepting the next financial year, can we define it for the following financial year? Because future budget is the never, never.
It's a matter of looking at it every year. No, I'm not accepting that, Councillor Smith.
What we
So
do this resolution.
Intention of actually delivering this.
I didn't say that.
Then set a time frame. What's the time frame?
Chris, who knows what the budget situation will be next year? I mean, you could say that for every single item. We could put we could put $200 million into roads. Doesn't mean that we can afford it come next year. That's defeating the whole purpose of the budget process. My view. All right, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Castles, Councillor Millen, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Eaton. Against? Councillor Smith and Councillor Welsh. I declare that carried. Next item is 2.7, the cost to maintain the Heritage and Culture Subcommittee. Recommendation is simply.
That's another item before that.
We've done 2.6.
It's 2 points.
Oh, yeah, 2.6 as well.
Page we up.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're up to
That's-
2.7.
We've done that.
Yeah, we've done that. 2.7, cost to maintain the Heritage and Culture Subcommittee. Recommendations there. Just
130.
439, yes.
If the staff could put it up. Move.
Second that.
Actually, I should add
Or the chair and the council members have already been determined.
no, I don't think they have for the subcommittee, have they? Oh, okay. Peter.
It's deferred.
I don't think they had.
Deferred previously.
Oh, no. That was the appointment of the community members was deferred. The councillor member.
Chair of the Heritage Subcommittee.
So, and then I think Councillor Neal's on it. Councillor, I think there's
That doesn't sound right.
4 councillors on it.
Doesn't sound right.
So I will move that way. So the council resolution was to proceed with the establishment of the committee. So with the appointment of committee members as per the report that we received in April. Happy to change 3 to confirm the chair and councillor membership of the committee and to convene the first meeting no later than end of August.
Okay, so that would be the motion, not the amendment. Was there a seconder for that? Councillor
Yeah.
Walsh, were you seconding?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. If there's no objection, I'll put that. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Okay, 2.8 open file. Is that what we're up to? I think so. Thank you, councillor Stanton. Seconder, councillor Milland.
Oh, no, I'm just going to vote against it.
All right.
Yeah.
Been done, I think, pretty much. So I'll put that. All those in favour? Councillor Milland, councillor Stanton, councillor.
Oh, sorry. Can I just suggest that it needs?
I've put it. Call for the vote.
But it needs to say that the committee recommends to council, that council notes. Oh, no, it's got it in part 3. That's fine. Okay.
And against councillor Smith?
Go ahead.
Yeah, against councillor Smith, so I declare that carried. Okay, 2.9 fire safety report. You want to look at this?
I just take questions.
Sure.
Like just reading the report, it seemed like this was still a big, in that it didn't appear that action had been taken. So I guess a question through you to the staff is, at what point, well, could I get some commentary? It would seem to me it's close to needing to put some kind of limitation on the building until there's some remedy for those different actions. And to tell you the truth, I can't recall the specific actions, but I think combined they represent a risk. And it seems to me that this is an ongoing issue, and presumably the building is still being utilised without those issues being. So it just gets.
So, councillor, normally what would happen is you'd see the initial notification of the files fire, and then council would take action and we tell you what happened at the end. What's happened in this case is we've decided it was so serious, I've taken action already.
Right.
So I'm not waiting for the that final report coming back to council about what action.
Yeah.
And we've issued what's called a notice of intent, which requires them to fix a whole range of things.
Yeah.
Council has given them a certain amount of time. They need to fix that in a certain amount of time. Then we'll issue orders to take action against them. So I suppose the bigger question, the bigger answer here is we're actually taking action already.
Okay, but
Letting council know that we're taking action already.
okay, but they're still receiving clients and customers.
Yeah, we're taking action as quickly as we can to get them to fix the different issues.
Okay.
And if they don't do that, we'll be taking serious action against them to stop them operating.
So what time frame are we talking? Weeks or months?
I have to go back and check, council, but it's being done as a matter of complete urgency from our end.
Okay, right.
All right, recommendations there. Somebody want to move that? Councillor Castles, thank you. Second to councillor Merlin. Any more further discussion? Put all those in favour? Unanimously, thank you. Next one, 210, the Town Centre Improvement Program. The resolutions, the recommendations there, I just was suggesting that we change year 1 to the entrance in Toukley, and then year 2 would be Woy and Lakehaven.
This is number 1.
Yes, I was just saying, if you're going back to take away the entrance, there could be 2 people chucking a tantrum, isn't that?
So I'll move that way. So just year 1 becomes the entrance in Toukley and year 2 becomes Woy and Lakehaven.
I'll second it.
Councillor Stanton, is there any objection to that?
No, it's not, but I'd just like to make the point, I don't want Lakehaven forgotten about. There's a new tide, and we've, after the meeting today with Lake Macquarie, Lakehaven's going to be looking forward to that.
Sure. Well, Lakehaven's not changed. So the only ones that actually were changed were they brought forward and Woy. All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Very unanimously. 211, the Swift Parrot management plan.
We've got a, because it's complex, councillors, we do a quick presentation for you with it. Who's Jed? You popped up before, council's ecologist and environmental an expert on Swift parrots.
The clicker there if you want.
An overview of the Swift parrot and species management plan framework that sort of has in place for 3 species. The Swift parrot is a migratory species. It spends the summer in Tasmania and uses during autumn and winter Areas up and down the east coast of Australia are really important foraging habitat. And the S&P is a framework that wants to set out the long-term viability of habitat, and that includes effectively identifying the extent of habitat during land use planning, like DAs and planning proposals, to ensure proper impact assessment occurs, which is a requirement under the Biodiversity Conservation Act that the minimize and offset hierarchy is demonstrated, and to inform and educate stakeholders as environmental education opportunities through this plan. The species is listed at the federal level as critically endangered. It has a small population size now of 750 individuals, 2,000 individuals in 2010, so that has been a decline. It's recorded every year on the Central Coast since 2002, including really large flock sizes of up to 650 individuals. Right now at Batter Bay, a population of 30 supported around the suburbia, and that represents approximately 5% of the population, so that's quite significant. And those individuals have now been present for 4 continuous weeks, and using a lot of habitat trees and residential areas in the backyard. There's 5 preferred foraging species, including blackbutt, which occurs at Batter Bay. And those species are fairly common throughout the Central Coast, and it's a mix of those vegetation communities that means the swift parrot continually uses the Central Coast and visits annually. The primary threat in the mainland is loss of habitat. Between 2000 and 2019, 600 hectares of mapped swift parrot habitat have been lost in the Central Coast. So it is a significant impact, ongoing loss of habitat. So how the New South Wales government's tried to deal with this is that they come up with important habitat map. So approximately 30% of residential areas on the Central Coast are constrained by that mapping. What that means, that flows onto what is required. Council to make a determination whether or not that habitat may result in serious and irreversible impacts. And that means that development could be significantly constrained and not be approved if those habitat impacts are substantial, which flows on to the importance of that avoid and minimise offset hierarchy. So these S&Ps try and provide some guidance around what is actually local habitat for the swift parrot. And it's reflected in recent land environment course cases at Wedalba in East Wedalba. So on average, we had DAs come to the table with 0 hectares of impact avoidance, and through the land environment court process and conciliation with the parties, an average of 1.6 hectares of swift parrot habitat was avoided. And the importance is recognised under the Strategic Conservation Plan. The state government preparing it's in draft at the moment, where they're like 40% habitat. And a lot of that important habitat does overlap, those urban release areas, which is why it's a common species that comes up in development assessment. So why we've put this S&P in place to support decision making under a consistent framework that includes information about habitat and siting hotspots. So it's geared really for development assessment, consultants, applicants, but also this plan is really a great piece for enthusiasts to look at and understand and learn about the swift parrot to support environmental education. Twitching is a real thing. There's people dedicated right now with big cameras walking up and down the streets of Batter Bay. So there's a real opportunity there to celebrate this species. People visit from very far and wide and really enjoy the swift parrot. To provide clear pathways to avoid, minimise and mitigate impacts. So there's a number of ways that this can be done, and often the court has to step the proponent through that. We're trying to minimise that time in getting a DA up to the required standards by outlining quite clearly what those avoid, minimise, mitigate options could be, and that may apply to certain sites. So it's to improve the quality of DAs and other proposals, to reduce hopefully land environment court appeals. The S&P doesn't prescribe the level of habitat avoidance required. It leaves the assessment decision making to the statutory methods and process. All it is providing options for proponents to explore with the consultants. It also details recovery actions, such as restoration opportunities, land dedication to council. Conversely, there's an opportunity for the council to actually, through creation of biodiversity stewardship sites, is to help support the management of council reserves through generating species credits for the swift parrot. Species credits across all of New South Wales, the Swift Parrot have only been created on the Central Coast, and that's because we actually have quite valuable habitat that's reliably used. So there's an opportunity there for council to generate revenue on council land reserves to support biodiversity management, environmental education, and participation in monitoring programs, which are annual winter bird surveys. So the resolution that we put forward is that this plan proceeds public exhibition for 28 days, and then we'll come back with a report on the outcome of the exhibition.
Okay, thank you. Questions? I've got a couple. Jed? So I assume you're a certified ecologist, is that right?
That's right. An accredited assessor.
So is there any legislative requirement to do this SMP?
Yes.
Sorry, Jed, I can
Yeah, it's gonna
jump in and answer that. Council's got two adopted strategies, both our biodiversity strategy and our climate sustainability and climate action plan, that both include a requirement to do species management plans. This is council's fourth species management plan that we've provided, and this work's been ongoing for quite a number of years.
With respect, that wasn't the question I asked. And I think you know that, Jan. So I'm gathering there is no legislative requirement to do these plans.
The primary focus is providing greater certainty for development assessment outcome, Central Coast, reduce assessment timeframes, and actually provide pathways to resolve the contention with this species.
Okay, but anyone who's going through it has still got to go through the BCAR, BDAR and use certified ecologist.
That's right.
So, I mean, councillor, that's probably the only answer we can give you. I mean,
no, I understand. I understand there is a council plan. I found it.
Yep. It's to help the process. There's often a lot of confusion about how to manage Swift parrots. So this gives a lot of information, and that's the primary purpose of it. It's not necessarily a legislative requirement. It's to help us manage it.
Isn't it a legislative requirement not to impact a critically endangered species?
Yeah, but that, as I think Jed said, that goes through the legislative process. It sets out the right test. That's still the process. This species management plan gives much more information around how you could potentially manage it.
Yeah, well, I thought that was the point, that having this streamlines that process, so quicker and faster. And
Okay. All right, that's my questions. Anyone else have questions? Otherwise, the recommendations there. I'll remove the recommendation.
I'll move it.
Thank you, councillor Castles. Walsh, any further discussion? All right, I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Okay, 212 Wyoming Telecommunications Development Application. Councillor Castles.
Yes, couple of questions. Well, at least one question to start with. But that's I'm still considering possibly putting in an amendment here, but I just want confirmation of when the local planning panel will be meeting next, and when this matter is actually going to be chair.
Councillor, to give you an update, so we've been working with the applicant, provided needed to determine the application. My understanding is the assessment report will go up to the local planning panel on the 18th of June, which is the next one.
18th of June. Okay, thank you. So I will consider moving a slight amendment to the recommendation. And the amendment simply is that, where are we? Recommendation. The first bit stays the same. And the second bit would be that it's noted that the Environment and Planning Committee supports the construction of the telco tower at Glenning Street, Wyoming. And I'll move that amendment.
It'll be the motion.
I'll second
Nothing else before us. Councillor Stanton, do we?
I just think I've just got concerns that it's a council DA, and just like every other DA, I mean, there were certain councillors before with concerns about a rezoning because it wasn't a councillor's place, and then suddenly a DA is forward and then we're involved. It's not a concern with the actual construction of this telecommunications tower. I think that the community is rightfully campaigning, but I'm just not sure that it's our place to put that forward. And I think the report is very clear that it's a DA, it's being assessed by the council. Council has made inquiries for information that's not been provided. The stalling is not on the council's part, it's on the applicant's part, and it's going to be proceeding towards determination. So I don't know that there's anything more to do other than to note that recommendation by council that's currently on the page.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there seems to be a lot of misinformation out there in the community about this. It's council's fault.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the report because it's very contrary to what we've been reading in the paper and listening to on the radio. To the director, any reason has council, I'm not going to say misled anyone accidentally, but it just seems to be a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the two issues. There's obviously strong support for improving telecommunication facilities and the local community advocating for that quite rightly. And then there's the elements of them needing to work through the assessment process for their as an applicant for their specific site. What we found with this applicant is they haven't been willing to provide reasonably what we consider basic information to support their application, because council is of the view that these facilities are really important. We've held off determining it to allow them to provide it and have been chasing them up monthly now for a fair while. So it's not something that we but in the end, we've been able to get an agreement with them to provide the information this week, and then we'll be able to provide a report to the local planning panel to determine it on the 18th. So it's going to get to a good conclusion, but we have made it clear to the industry representatives that there seem to be some problem from their end in relation to this proposal. We've approved, I think, over 50 telecommunications facilities over the last couple of years. So and this was quite unusual, this particular one.
And there was no reason provided by the applicant why there was such a delay.
No, around the issues is they proposed an asset protection zone that they needed to show that there wasn't actually a council requirement. It was a requirement that they wanted to protect the facility, and they needed to show that that wasn't removing threatened species. So it was a reasonably simple thing to do, but it wasn't something that they were willing to do until recently.
So just to be clear here, the land on which this is proposed to be constructed, I've probably just missed it somewhere. Is this council land?
Yes.
It is definitely council land, right? Okay. Hence why I guess Councillor Stanton, you were mentioning that issue around the DA. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And I understand the intent of the amendment. My concern is all the misinformation out there. I'm a bit loath to change the recommendation. Looks like we just jumped on board at the last minute to support.
So I think it strengthens it.
I think the public might think, well, why are they just saying they support it now, where we've supported it since December? I've been trying to get this over the line.
They might say, oh, that makes it clear.
Okay, well, I don't think we're going to resolve this. Councillor Stanton, do you want to move the recommendation as an amendment?
I'll just move the staff recommendation. Again, it's nothing to do with the actual proposal. I think there's a lot of merit. It's just, I also just have concerns that we're getting involved in this DA, and then every other subsequent DA is going to be requesting the same, that we bring forward every DA to council back to get a report, and it's kind of bypassing the operational processes that council has in place. But I do hope that there's a good outcome in this case, but I will move the staff rec on this one.
Okay, so a seconder for that? Mellon, okay. All right, I'll put the amendment first, then all those in favour. Councillor.
The amendment, where's
The amendment is the recommendation, yeah.
Oh. So,
Because Councillor Castle has the motion, so this is the amendment.
oh, but we haven't voted.
no, we haven't voted on
No,
yours.
but the amendment gets voted
Oh,
first.
sorry.
In fact,
I'm losing the plot. I'm losing the plot.
Okay, so those in favour of the amendment, councillor Milling, councillor Stanton, councillor Eaton, those against, councillor Castles, councillor Walsh. I'll now put the amendment now becomes the motion. Councillor Castles, it's a matter for yourself, but you may be want to now vote for this, but it's up to you.
So now we've got,
So that's now the motion.
Yeah.
We have to put on again. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Is that unanimous now or not?
just the staff record.
No, it's not. That's not.
no, that's not it.
That's not it. No.
I'm just moving the staff record.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
So,
One on your screens on your computer.
That's it. That's it. So now the amendment has become the motion. So now we've got to vote on the motion. So all those in favour? Councillor Milling, councillor Stanton. Yeah, okay, unanimous. Thank you. I thought you probably. Oh,
sorry, confusion reigns.
yes.
I hope that there's a great outcome here. I just think there's a.
Okay, I think we're on to the last item, which is the state significant development and major applications update. I'm not sure if we wanted that.
Sheriff. I'm sorry.
I think it was councillor Walsh, yes.
Did we?
That's,
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry, Chair. I'm looking at the wrong one.
were you thinking about the,
15, page 508 by the look of it. I think there was 2 submissions on
because the other one,
various ones.
the 2 planning proposal and the development assessment stats, they went through,
Yes, on the exception.
didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
For you, Mr. Chair, on the Eleanor Hotel East Gosford site, it's gone straight out of my head. Somebody catch it and send it back to me.
Was it demolition of trees? No.
If we don't have it already,
I'll have.
I'll move the staff rec.
I'm happy to second.
Well, actually,
I-
it's not coming back to me.
Okay. We might just make a note that councillor Stanton and I are on just the Central Coast Regional Planning Panel, and so we actually were on the determination of the hotel, but of course we're not, don't think, involved in modifications.
I don't think it's part of it.
No, and obviously we don't have an interest because we're council appointed delegates to that. Anyhow, I just think for probity purposes, it's worth noting that.
I
I
think you
think-
would have raised that in conflicts of interest, so
Well, it's not theory, it's not strictly a conflict of interest because we're,
that's why you didn't raise it.
yeah, that's right. But given there was some discussion about
That
that.
wasn't what I was going to.
Okay. All right, so councillor Stanton, let's move the committee recommendation, I think. Second, councillor Castles, I'll put that, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. And with that, I'll declare the meeting closed. Thank you all for your attendance and goodwill.
We go home now. What time do we do?